The first session today that we're going to review is disaster plans and emergency procedures. We all know during the spring here, especially in the Atlanta area, we can have some bad weather, we can have storms, but we can also have, see some other disasters, and you need to know what to do in the event of an emergency. So the most important thing that you need to do is to have a plan. Have a plan for yourself and your family, have a plan, make sure your client has a plan as well. Make sure that if anybody's not together, you all know how you're going to communicate and connect with each other in the event of an emergency. It may be easier to make a long distance call during an emergency than a local call. Just keep that in mind so that everybody understands what number that you're going to call as a family to let people know you're okay or you need help. Find out, in your area, like I said, in Atlanta area, we can have some bad weather, especially in the springtime. We're prone to bad storms, winds, tornadoes. In the wintertime, we can experience an ice storm from here and there. So we need to make sure that you have access to television news or social media or other outlets that are going to update you on the status of those emergencies and disasters. You probably want to find out immediately if you have children in school, if you have loved ones that live in facility settings, you want to find out what their emergency plans are as well, so that you can be aware of how you're going to be informed, how you're going to, for example, pick up your children from school in the event of an emergency, or how your loved one is going to get out of a nursing home if they're in a facility setting. It's really important to have an emergency kit available for you that's going to have some of the basics that you'll need in the event of no water, for example, or food, even clean air and warmth. Basic needs to be met, and it's a good idea to have a small kit on hand at all times. 1 gallon of water per person per day is usually the rule of thumb that you're going to need for proper water, hydration, and sanitation. Of course, people that are sick, younger, nursing mothers, things like that are going to need more water. So just account for that in your emergency kit. If you live in a warm weather climate, you also may need more water that is going to be necessary for you. Food, you're going to want to have at least a 3-day supply of non-perishable food on hand. This can be things that require no refrigeration, very little preparation, or no water to cook. So things that are canned goods are usually good to keep in that event, but you want to make sure you have a can opener in your emergency kit, especially if you're going to have canned goods. You want to avoid salty foods, things that are overly preserved, because that's just going to make you more thirsty and you're going to need to consume more water. You're going to want to look for things that your family is going to eat, dry foods like cereals, different pasteurized, non-refrigerated milks, high energy food. Vitamins are actually important as well for this time. Other items you want to make sure that you have in an emergency kit are going to include a battery powered or crank radio. That's going to be a weather radio to let you know about storms or different things that are happening in your area. A flashlight with extra batteries. A first aid kit is usually very important. In the event of an emergency, somebody might have actually gotten hurt or cut or scraped or, things like that. So you want to make sure that you have a first aid kit on hand. So you're going to also want to be up on your first aid training to make sure that minor injuries can be treated effectively that don't need emergency care, because in the event of a disaster, emergency services may be very limited. Items to include, of course, gloves, sterile dressings, cleansing agents, antibiotic, toppings like, Neosporin and things like that, ointments, burn ointments if the disaster emergency is a fire, Band-Aids, eye wash, a thermometer, any prescription medications that you would normally have to take. You do want to have a small supply of those and rotate those out in your emergency kit so that you aren't taking expired medication, but at the same time, you do have at least, again, that 3-day supply of any medications that you might have. Of course, cell phone charger, if available, if electricity is going to be available, things like scissors, tweezers, non-prescription medication like ibuprofen, Tylenol, aspirin, things that you may need for pain relief. Additional items that you could consider to add to an emergency supply. If you have small children, infants, of course, you know, things like formula and diapers, those are going to be very important during an emergency. If you have pets, to have extra pet food and water that they can consume. Important family documents, insurance policies, passports, you know, your identification. Cash is a good idea to have on hand because in the event of an emergency, you may not have access to online banking options or ATMs, things like that. And then it is good just to have availability to a first aid source, like ready.gov is a government resource that's available to people that they can use in the event of it to prepare for the emergency, but also in the event of an emergency. You know, you may want to look into adding different things such as sleeping bags or blankets, pillows, things, because you don't know how long this emergency may last. So if it is going, you know, overnight or into several days, you are going to want to make sure that you have that available on hand. A change of clothes, good shoes to wear, not heels or flip-flops, you know, something that's going to cover your toe, something that's going to be sturdy footwear. Household cleaners, so that, and perhaps even a small bottle of bleach to prepare, be able to purify water in the event of an extended emergency. Fire extinguisher, feminine supplies and personal hygiene items, you know, paper, disposable plates, cups, napkins, paper and pencil. Some things to keep you occupied, books, games, puzzles, activities for children, different things to help pass the time if there is going to be an extended emergency or disaster. For our own emergency procedure and protocol, so for everybody to be aware, the person that would receive the emergency is going to notify or be the first person to notify the office here. If there is an emergency, like let's say it's a life-threatening emergency where you're in a client's home and there's a fire, okay? That's a definite emergency, life-threatening. You're gonna call 911. That's your number one thing that you're going to do in the event of an emergency or disaster. And that's for like an immediate life-threatening. Otherwise, you would notify the office and we are going to continue to monitor local broadcasts and communicate with you. Your care coordinator should be communicating with you on a regular basis. About every other year here, we get an ice storm. And we all know what happens when it snows or ices in Atlanta. Everything shuts down. And during that time, we don't want to assume that people cannot go to work because you may live in the same neighborhood or in the same building as your client. Or there might be one area of Atlanta that is affected by the ice storm, but not another. So even if, you know, the office here in Sandy Springs is closed, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not working. The most important thing to do is contact the office if you cannot go see your patient. If it's your safety or health is at risk by traveling to your patient, certainly we cannot and we do not want you to go visit patients and put your own health or safety at risk. But at the same time, still notify the office, and then your care coordinator may give you additional information. They may say, can you contact your client? Can you see how they're doing? They may or may not do that. So just be advised and keep that open communication going throughout the day or throughout the extent of the disaster. Usually in Atlanta, we just have to wait for the ice to melt and then things can proceed as normal. So there's not a whole lot you can do if you're affected by ice, especially here. Most important thing for you, be prepared. Again, I bring up this website, ready.gov, for additional information for you to create your own disaster emergency kit. That is very important for you to have on hand. It's very important for you to specialize it and customize it to meet the needs of your family, and also to have these conversations with your clients as well. A lot of our clients do live in high-rise buildings, And it's very important that you familiarize yourself in the building itself with where are the exits, where are the fire exits, and how is your client going to leave the building, especially in a high-rise situation where elevators typically are not going to be in operation. It's very important that you guys have that conversation. Does anybody have any questions about anything we discussed? Do you all have emergency kits and plans at home? No, most of you are going to say no, but you have to know how you're going to get in touch with people. So thank you very much. I have one additional thing I'm going to go over with you all today. Okay, I just wanted to talk to you all very briefly about a thing with Medicaid that's coming up that's going to affect your clients. And if any of you yourselves currently have Medicaid for yourselves or your children, it's going to affect you as well. So for the last 3 years, during the period of the COVID public health emergency, there were no Medicaid eligibility redeterminations, which means during this period of time, the Department of Community Health did not review income and eligibility for Medicaid. Okay, so there was a 3-year hold on them making any redeterminations for Medicaid. However, as of April 1st, the state of Georgia did determine that they must redetermine eligibility. So that just happened a month ago. They started this redetermination of eligibility for all Medicaid recipients. Again, this is all of your clients that you see. And if any of you receive Medicaid for yourself, your family, your children, this will affect you. Okay, it's very important that you know that. Very important for you to understand. They do have a website. It's called staycovered.ga.gov. And this is going to be continually updated with news and information. I encourage you all to look at this website, staycovered.ga.gov. Okay. Additionally, that's just the background of it. But the next steps you have to, through their gateway, you need to make sure that your information, your client's information is up to date. That means your contact information, because that's how they're going to be sending it out, is through letters. Okay, it's going to go to their mail. Please, if your client is getting mail from Department of Community Health, tell them, do not throw this away. This is important information. Okay, so you do need to get this information up to date. In this gateway, you can elect email notifications, which a lot of times is easier for people Some it is, some it isn't, but you can elect to receive email notifications for this. So you really do want to make sure that you update the information as soon as possible, correct name, address, telephone number, and email address. And you can elect email notifications, which is going to give you those notifications in the quickest way. So again, you can go online to stay informed about the Medicaid status. You can go to staycovered.ga.gov. You can go into caseworkers or case manager's office in person. Some of the places are still not operating in person. However, some of them are going to be face-to-face. You can update it that way. And you can also by phone. The number is a little bit difficult to see, but if you guys want, I can call it out to you, the phone number. It is 877-423-4746. Okay, it's 877-423-4746. And you can call and update your Medicaid eligibility or your Medicaid information so that they can send you the Medicaid eligibility documentation. This is important. You do want to make sure that your clients get the information and that they stay covered with Medicaid as well as yourself. Like I said, if any of you use because it's all Medicaid, it's CCSP, SOURCE, Peach Care for Kids, all of the Medicaid programs. Okay, so we did want to make sure that you're aware of it and that you notify your clients as well. Does anybody have any questions? Has anybody seen any letters at their client's home with this information yet? Okay, we have got one over here that has. Okay, please make sure they respond because we want to keep everybody covered and we want to make sure that everybody can continue the services that they're receiving and that you're delivering. Okay, thank you very much. And that's all I have for you today. Next up, we have Charlene. Charlene is our clinical educator, and she is going to review with you the topic on bathing tip. Infection control, I apologize. Charlene, please give her your attention. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. So this morning, we're going to talk a little bit about infection control. I don't think it's anything you don't know, but I'm going to try to give you the reason behind why you do what you do and why it's important to do what you do. So therefore, you will be more compliant with the requirements to maintain infection control. So by the end of the course today, you should be able to define a germ, define the environment that a germ needs to live and grow, explain the chain of infection, and understand when and how proper hand washing should be accomplished. So to start, you can think about all the things you have touched today on your way here and since you've been here. Now, in order to understand it, we need to know what it is. So we're going to look at a few definitions. Infection, what does that mean? When a pathogen invades the body and replicates itself, essentially that's an infection. If during this process, it disrupts your normal bodily functions, resulting in signs and symptoms, then we can say that a disease has occurred. Infections can be major safety and health hazards. Some infections are minor and cause short illnesses. Others are serious and can result in death. And most times, if you are vulnerable, maybe an infant or an older person, it's especially serious for you. Now, when infections happen, they can remain localized in a particular area of the body. So if it's localized in the lung, we say you have a pneumonia. If it's localized in the skin, we say you have cellulitis. but it can also be systemic. And you will hear the doctor, your patients tell you they were diagnosed with sepsis. And that means the infection is now in the bloodstream and is affecting all the organs in the body. Now, what is control? Control is the act of limiting or managing, the act of controlling something or someone or having the power to do this, the power to influence or direct. It's a means of limiting or regulating. You maintain influence or authority, or you limit the level, intensity, or numbers of. So that's the power you have when you perform infection control. So infection control essentially involves preventing invasion, replication, and transmission of an organism, whether it is a virus, a bacteria, a fungus, or a parasite. So caregivers and medical professionals have a very important role in protecting patients, residents, visitors, and yourself from infection. And how do we do this? We can use sanitation, that's a physical removal of debris from any surface used on intact skin, disinfection, where we use chemicals to kill organisms, and sterilization, where we completely kill the organism and its spores. Now, who are infection preventionists? Infection preventionists essentially is all of us. And what do? We use our detective skills to find bad germs and make sure that everyone is doing the right thing to keep each other safe. So in healthcare, we have certain healthcare associated infections that we have to be very careful of. Catheter associated UTIs. When a patient comes home and they have a surgical site, you get a surgical site infection. They come home with IV lines, you can get an infection in the bloodstream. And commonly, or one of the more common ones is a basic pneumonia. There's a lot of humming or chatter in the room. So when you have a chain of infection, it's very important to know the process, because what this does is allow us to intervene in a very efficient way. So what is this chain of infection? Typically, you start with a pathogen, that's the germ, be it a bacteria, virus, a fungus, or a parasite. That pathogen has a reservoir. Where does it live? Where does it stay? Where does it replicate itself? And in the world today, the reservoirs are all of us. It can be animals, it can be in the soil outside, the food we eat, the water we use. And once you have a reservoir, it has to have a portal of exit. How does it leave its habitat to get somewhere else? And that portal of exit is usually by someone coughing, sneezing, bodily secretions, feces. Once it leaves, how is it transmitted? And it's transmitted via direct contact, indirect contact, or we have vectors. And when we talk about vectors, we're talking about mosquitoes, flies, roaches, etc. And then it has to have a portal of entry. How does it get into the next organism? How does it get into a human to cause this infection? And again, your portals of entry are similar to your portals of exit. It enters you through your mouth, your nose, your eyes, cuts in the skin. And once it enters you, does it make you sick? And therefore, we're looking at, are you susceptible? Are you a susceptible host? And when we say susceptible, we're talking about persons who are elderly, or we talk about infants where their immune system has not matured yet, or some of us, our immune system is waning. You have patients who, because of chronic diseases, they're actually immunocompromised. And again, it can just be anyone. So we're going to look at how to break the chain of infection. So the germs have the ability to cause infections and are harmful. Now you have germs that we say are non-pathogenic. So they exist on our skin, they exist in our GI tract, and it's part of our normal flora, but it doesn't make us sick. You have three main classes of germs: your bacteria, your fungi, your viruses, and your parasites. And parasites is the one we not commonly hear about, but those are things like worms. No, the agent of infection, when you have a germ around, you have to think about its strength, its virulence. And this tells you the organism's ability to cause disease. How potent is the germ? What is the germ's ability to overpower your natural defense system? And factors that affect the virulence is the number of the germ, its strength or potency, and its ability to enter and survive the body's environment and the susceptibility of the host. Because you may be exposed to, you're passing somebody on the street and they cough and they're really sick and you're exposed to them. That small amount of germ might not make you sick. But if you're locked in a room with that person for 8 hours for the day and they're coughing all day, there's very little ventilation. The amount of germ that you inhale for those 8 hours might overcome your body's natural mechanism to fight the germ. Most of them grow best at body temperature and are destroyed by high heat and ultraviolet light. So when you actually develop a fever, it is your body's natural mechanism trying to kill this germ, trying to make it less potent. And they are found in most organs in the different human body systems. You have some in the lungs, the intestines, on your skin. And these, as I mentioned before, form the normal flora. When a non-pathogenic organism is transmitted from one system to another, then it becomes a pathogen. So E. coli is a normal organism that's found in your large intestines. But if it moves from your large intestines into your urinary tract, you can get a urinary tract infection. And that's why we always tell you when you're wiping or cleaning your clients, you always clean from front to back. And why are women more susceptible than men? Women are more susceptible because we have a shorter urethra. That's the tube that carries urine between the bladder and the outside. Ours is very short, men's are very long. So therefore, the bacteria doesn't climb all the way up the tract. So we are more susceptible. The other thing is when you talk about E. coli and your patient is coughing, they go to the doctor, they test their sputum and it comes back growing E. coli and they tell you they have a E. coli pneumonia. How did the E. coli get from the large intestines into their lung? Any ideas? Through the mouth, not with fecal oral transmission, not washing the hands properly. So these are the things you have to think about when you're caring for the client. So it's not just about washing your hands, but you also have to wash their hands. Make sure underneath their fingernails are clean. The reservoir, the natural habitat or home where the germ lives, it multiplies and depends on for its survival. And this reservoir can be animate, meaning it's alive. It can be a case, what they refer to as a case in public health, which is the symptomatic person, or the carrier, somebody without the disease, but has the infectious agent and can transmit it to others, your pets and your animals. It can be on an inanimate surface. So the agent is present on your healthcare equipment, your blood pressure machine, your stethoscope, the physical surroundings, the plants, the soil, the water. And the source is considered the direct location from which the germ is passed to the host. And you have to recognize that the source is not necessarily equal to the reservoir. Now your portals of exit. For us, it tends to be bodily fluid like blood, your respiratory secretions, mucus, when you sneeze, when you cough, even when you talk. Your GI tract, things like saliva, emesis, feces, the GU tract, any type of discharge, the urine, and mother to child transmission. Now, transmission is a method or way that the disease passes from an infected person who could be considered either the source or the reservoir to someone that's previously not infected. How does it spread? And there are two main ways, there are several ways, but there are a few main ones to spread infection. You can spread it by direct contact, actual contact between the host and the reservoir. Skin to skin, licking, touching, biting. By droplet infection, saliva, your respiratory secretions, when you have a direct spray a few feet before they hit the ground. From skin to soil, when you're standing in muddy areas, the spores, etc., of parasites can penetrate the skin. And it can be directly inoculated into the skin or your mucosa when you have a break in the barrier. Now you have indirect contact where you have an intervening agent that multiplies or develops. And that could be your vector, like your animals, insects. It could be through a vehicle, which they consider to be water, food, medical devices, or it can be airborne. So try to remember the 6 Fs. Can be transmitted by food, fluid, fingers, fomites, feces, and flies. The portal of entry, the respiratory system. You breathe in these droplets of contaminated air. The GI system, you eat, you drink contaminated food, you ingest germs from dirty hands and animals. It comes in the skin through your mucous membranes, your eyes, your nose, broken skin. Now, portals of entry, as we said, are similar to your portals of exit and can be the same. Now, these sites should give the organism access to a favorable environment where the germ can develop or produce its toxin. So who are susceptible hosts? When you look at the hosts in terms of humans, you look at our traits, our immune system, or defective barriers. Gender makes us more susceptible, whether you're male or female. Believe it or not, whether or not you're married makes you more susceptible to an infection, because it is believed that married persons have more financial support because there are 2 of you. Married persons have less stress because they have a partner that they discuss their issues with. And married persons have somebody else in the home that's always looking out for each other. Somebody monitoring you, saying you don't look too well today. So you seek attention for healthcare faster. The type of occupation you have, your level of literacy, whether you can read or write, what are your general behavior patterns? So all of these things are traits that can make you susceptible to infection. Your immune system at extremes of age, if you already have a chronic disease, you may have a terminal disease like cancer, you're receiving chemotherapy, poor nutritional states, and stress. You may have a defective barrier, you may have skin abrasions, burns, and you may be a post-surgical patient. So how do we break this chain of infection? Basically, to break the chain of infection, we use what we call standard precautions. And standard precautions are used on everyone all the time, irrespective of diagnosis. Because what it means is that you never know, just like how a doctor or nurse never know who is coming in to see them, who is sick or who is carrying something, who is carrying the newest infection, something that the world has never heard about. But once you practice standard precautions, you minimize the introduction of this organism into the population. So it's basic universal protocols that are used to achieve infection control, to protect the patient or client and the clinician or caregiver. So we also use what we call risk assessment, where you assess each person as you come across them to determine whether you think they have an infection or whatever process they're going through might cause you to catch something from them. So the standard precautions typically are hand hygiene, using personal protective equipment, managing your patient's surroundings, meaning they should be clean and disinfected. Their devices should be kept clean, their clothing should be clean, and everybody should be practicing respiratory hygiene and cough etiquette. Now, what are some of the signs and symptoms of infection? Fever, fast breathing, tachypnea, pain or tenderness at a site, just general loss of energy, loss of appetite. And you'll find that in the elderly population, which you service the most, they may not have a fever. They may not cough. All you may notice is that they have become drowsy. They have stopped interacting with you. They just lacking energy, and that tells you. And typically, they usually have either a UTI or a pneumonia. Now, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, rash, sores on the mucosa, redness or swelling of a part of the body, or they may have discharge or drainage from the infected area. Now, this is a study or some statistical data that came out of CDC in May of this year. And what it shows is that hand hygiene alone causes 23 to 40% decrease in diarrheal diseases, 58% decrease in the persons getting ill if they already have a weak immune system. There's a 16 to 21% decrease in the regular population from contracting flu-like illnesses, and a 17 to 29% decrease in school children contracting a GI disease. So based on the data and what we know, without a doubt, hand hygiene performed using soap and running water is the easiest and most effective way to remove chemicals and germs from your hands. And this has a domino effect. And anytime we talk about cost, everybody is alert and everybody is aware, because with this reduction in infection, what happens? There's increased productivity at work. There's increased presence at work. There's increased education. Children are not missing school for days at a time. And these increased wellness days means no doctor's visits and the cost associated with going to the doctor. There are no hospitalizations and it costs, and there's increased antibiotic effectiveness. What happens there is that they prescribe less antibiotics, because most of the time when antibiotics are prescribed, persons do not take the complete course of the antibiotics. And what that does is to develop or promote resistance in the organisms within the society, and it makes our antibiotics less potent. So when you actually get sick, they don't have anything to treat you with. So hand washing, before, during, and after preparing food, before eating food, before and after caring for someone who is sick, if you've treated a cut or a wound, every time you go to the bathroom, after changing diapers or cleaning up a child who has used the bathroom, after blowing your nose, coughing, sneezing, if you touch an animal, the feed for the animal, their waste, after handling pet food or pet treats. And this country has a lot of pets. So you have to practice significant hand hygiene within the home. Before putting on gloves, before touching, before performing any procedure on your patient, before manipulating an invasive device, after removing gloves, after touching your patient, once you come in contact with any bodily fluid, after touching items or surfaces in your client's room. Because some of these organisms can survive for days on solid surfaces. How do we wash our hands? You wet hands with clean running water. Apply your soap. You want to be scrubbing your hand for 20 to 40 seconds. Rub them together in between the fingers, the back of each hand, rubbing your fingertips, cleaning under the fingernails. Rinse under running water, dry with disposable paper, and turn the tap off with that disposable paper, not your clean hands. So in terms of infection control, what is asepsis? Asepsis constitutes the practices that keep the environment free from contamination and the patient free from colonization. These practices help to break the chain of infection. So you need to think about it when you're in the home, whether it's your home or the client. What's clean? What's dirty? What's sterile? And never the three shall mix. You have to keep them separated. So therefore, a part of this requires you to provide all persons with their own toothbrush, drinking glass, towels, washcloths, anything that's personal care. Cover the nose and mouth when coughing or sneezing. Bathe, wash hair, and brush your teeth regularly. Wash all fruits and raw vegetables before eating or serving them. Wash your cooking and eating utensils with soap and water after use. Don't forget the cutting boards, the counters, and anything that's touched by raw meat. And as usual, using gloves when handling obviously soiled material and performing hygiene, good hand hygiene once you're finished. So gloves are to be worn when contact with blood, all body fluids, secretions, and excretions, except sweat, regardless of whether they contain visible blood, broken skin, or mucous membrane. Gowns or aprons, you wear them during procedures when you anticipate substantial soiling, exposure to body fluids, blood, draining wounds, or mucous membranes. You may sometimes need masks and protective eyewear because your eye, the mucosa in your eye is a portal of entry, and it's an easy portal of entry. Hand washing. Hands must be washed before gloving and after gloves are removed. There's a lot of chatter and humming in the room. It's very distracting. Hands and other skin surfaces must be washed immediately and thoroughly if contaminated. And caregivers who have open cuts, sores, or dermatitis on their hands must wear gloves. And this is a very important point, and we as caregivers in the medical field are very prone or susceptible to having cuts and nicks on our hands. Why is that? We wash them all the time. It makes your hands dry, it causes your skin to crack. So part of the process is that you have to keep your hand moist, because you will have these minor cracks in your hand and it makes you more susceptible because you've broken the skin barrier, which is protective. Alcohol hand rinses may be used if and only if your hands are not visibly soiled and a sink is not readily available. And this has to be stressed because in the era now, or the post-era of COVID, persons tend to be relaxed and think that just putting sanitizer on your hand is good enough, and it's not. In order for you to use a hand sanitizer, it must be at least 60% alcohol. The range is usually 60-95, so you want to get alcohol sanitizers that are close to 95% as possible. You apply it to the palm using an adequate amount, and it's usually about 2 pumps, but each one has its own directions. Rub it on all surfaces of the hands for at least 15 seconds contact time. You do it until the hands are dry and you do not wipe it off. If you wipe it off, it does not have any efficacy in killing the germ that is on your hand. So this just reviews hand washing again for you. Infection control compliance, transportation. When transporting any client, please ensure that precautions are maintained to minimize the risk of transmission from your client to the general public and vice versa. Usually you may need gloves, gowns, and masks are not needed in these situations. When you have multiple use client care equipment, such as your stethoscope, your blood pressure cuff, it must be adequately cleaned and disinfected after use or whenever it becomes soiled with blood or bodily fluids. And you can feel comfortable to wipe the item with disinfectant, including alcohol. So just a few tips. Artificial nails, gel nails, or extenders should not be worn by staff who have direct patient contact. Let me say that again. Artificial nails, gel nails, or extenders are not to be worn by staff who have direct patient contact. Contaminated surfaces or objects should not be touched after performing hand hygiene. Avoid touching your face, especially your eyes and nose. Your fingernails should be kept short, no longer than 1/4 inch or 0.5 centimeters long. Nail polish may be worn, but should be removed the moment it is chipped, because these organisms are microscopic and they will lodge themselves in the chipped area, and it's very difficult to dislodge them, even with the mechanical washing of hands. Wearing hand and wrist jewelry is actually not recommended while you're providing care. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Charlene? Alrighty. Well, thank you, Charlene. That was very good information and very helpful so that we can better take care of our clients. I would like to remind everybody, if you could please put your cell phones on mute, and also please refrain from the side conversations. I know that we have some translation going on, but if there's too many conversations going on, it becomes very distracting to the presenter. So next up, we have Ilona, and she is going to review with you. She is also one of our clinical educators and our quality assurance that works primarily with our home health department. And Ilona is going to review with you some bathing tips that you can use to assist your clients, especially in the home environment. So please give Ilona your attention and thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. So I will be presenting some bathing tips for you today, and I apologize that I'm facing you with my back. I need to read. Imagine this: you have had a rough day at work, you are feeling sweaty and tired, you are looking forward to taking a nice, hot, relaxing shower. Now imagine how it would feel if, instead of being able to simply hop in the shower, your physical condition required you to take your clothes off in the front of a stranger, hold onto grab bars because you were afraid of falling in the shower, ask for help washing the private areas of your body, stand and shiver while waiting for someone to bring you a towel. Suddenly, the idea of a nice hot shower doesn't seem so appealing, does it? Your clients used to be able to take care of their own bathing needs. Now many of them need your help. And I cannot see what's there. Sorry. Being dependent on others for bathing probably makes them feel old and useless, ashamed, scared about what else they might have to give up doing for themselves. Bathing clients requires patience, strength, compassion, and skill. For some clients, it may also require special equipment. The purpose of bathing. Bathing is important because it cleans the body by removing dirt and dead skin cells. New skin cells continually push older cells toward the surface of the skin. By the time skin cells reach the surface, they are made up of the same lifeless protein as your hair and nails. Promotes comfort by cooling and refreshing the skin and relaxing the client. Most Americans consider bathing to be a source of comfort. Think all of the products that are available to make bathing a pleasant experience, such as bubble bath, bath oils, shower gels, etc. Controls body odor by removing bacteria and germs from the skin. Body odor is caused by a combination of sweat and bacteria. Main sources of odor are the armpit, the groin, and the feet. Some foods, such as garlic, cumin, and curry, can cause body odor to linger. Prevents infection. This I cannot see. Provides an opportunity for clients to move their muscle and joints. By encouraging your clients to do as much as possible for themselves during a bath, you help them remain independent and provide their muscles and joints a bit of exercise. Hold on a second. Stimulates circulation. Blood flow in the body is increased by warm water, rubbing or massaging the skin, and by moving joints and muscles during the bathing process. Helps prevent skin breakdown. It's especially important to clean the skin of incontinent clients. When skin is exposed to urine and or stool, the risk increases for developing pressure sores and infections. Gives you an opportunity to communicate with the client and to observe his or her body for changes. Provides an opportunity for clients to move their yeah. That's not working now. Check the entire body for puffiness or swelling, broken skin, redness, bruises, or bleeding. Report any unusual body odors. A strange odor may be a symptom of an illness. Watch out for clients who seem to sweat too much, too little, or who tend to sweat a lot at night. There are medical conditions that can cause sweating problems. In fact, it can be life-threatening if a person doesn't sweat at all. Look for white or yellow areas on finger and toenails. Your client may have a nail fungus. Check for itching, cracked skin between the toes or on the soles of the feet. These are signs of infections such as athlete's foot. Watch for black warts on the soles of the feet. Skin cancer is the most common form of cancer. There are 1 million new cases diagnosed every year. You can watch your clients for signs of skin cancer, including sores that don't heal, a mole that changes size and or has irregular edges, a skin growth that changes color, especially if it turns red, white, or blue, a mole that becomes tender, itchy, or dotted with black spots, a skin growth that crossed over, cracks, or bleeds. Report any suspicious changes in a client's skin immediately. Giving different types of baths. And the first bath type is bed bath. Encourage the clients to assist with the bath as much as possible. Gather all of supplies ahead of time and have them within reach of the bed. Close any doors or windows to avoid drafts. To ensure bath warmth and privacy, cover the client with a light cotton blanket. Uncover, wash, and dry only a small part of the body at a time. Sponge or partial bath. A full bath may not be ordered for each of your clients every day. However, a person's face, underarms, buttocks, and genital area should be washed daily. Follow each client's care plan for a partial bath. For example, Mrs. Smith may be allowed to stand at the sink for her sponge bath, but Mr. Taylor needs to sit on the edge of his bed. Tub bath. Never give a tub bath unless it's ordered in the client's care plan. Tub baths have a high risk for client falls, burns, and chills. Encourage clients to use the toilet before a bath, since warm water may trigger the need to urinate. Don't attempt to help a client in or out of a tub unless you feel secure about your ability or you have the proper equipment like a lift or slide board. Tub baths can dry the skin, so they should not last longer than 20 minutes. Shower. Never give a shower unless it's ordered in the client's care plan. Use a shower chair if ordered. Be sure to place a rubber mat on the shower floor, but don't cover the drain opening. Sitz bath. Remember that a sitz bath is meant for soaking the hips and buttocks only. It is often used with clients who have had surgery in the rectal area or who have bladder, prostate, or vaginal infections. Some clients may become dizzy after sitting in hot water. Then the sitz bath is over. Help them stand up and make sure that they're steady before they attempt to walk. Pat your client's hips and buttocks dry with a soft towel. Seriously ill clients. Clients who are seriously ill, dying, or in pain require some extra tender loving care during bathing. Keep these tips in mind. Help the client in a comfortable position and complete as much of the bath as possible in that position. Proceed slowly if the client is experiencing pain, shortness of breath, or anxiety. Schedule the bath for about 1 hour after pain medication has been given to the client. Disabled clients. Bathing is more difficult, more time-consuming, and more dangerous for people with disabilities. Clients with disabilities may have trouble keeping their balance while bathing or transferring in and out of a tub, reaching items such as grab bar soap or towels, holding on to a bar of soap, opening or closing a faucet, feeling the temperature of the water. You can help your disabled clients by following proper bathroom safety procedures, making sure there is enough light in the bathroom, putting needed items within your client's reach, getting assistance from a coworker or a family member, then transferring a client by yourself would be dangerous. Confused clients. Clients with Alzheimer's disease or other conditions that cause confusion need special consideration at bath time. Remember that the confusion may make them afraid of everyday things like running water, cold tile floors, or soap, overly sensitive temperatures such as cold drafts or hot water, especially embarrassed about undressing in front of you. To help make bath time more enjoyable for these clients, try to set up a routine for bathing and stick with it. Give simple, clear instructions without arguing. Avoid showers for clients who are afraid of running water. Fill the tub before taking the client into the bathroom. Keep the bath water no more than 6 inches deep. Cover the client's upper body with a towel to provide privacy during the bath. Skincare products. Soap. There are many types of soap, plain, medicated, perfumed, or moisturizing. Check your client's care plan to see if a specific type of soap should be used at bath time. Question: when is soap considered a drug? A bar of soap becomes an over-the-counter drug if the manufacturer claims the soap works against dandruff, bacteria, perspiration, or acne. Use mild soap. For clients with dry skin, apply soap only to the face, underarms, genital areas, hands, and feet. Clean the rest of the body with warm water only. Rinse soap off with warm water, not hot. Powder. You may be asked to apply powder to soothe and cool a client's skin. If so, use only a small amount of powder and don't mix powder with lotion. This causes the powder to crust and cake on the skin, which can irritate the skin. Avoid shaking powders in the air. If inhaled, the small powder particles may irritate your client's respiratory tract. Bath oil. Bath oils are used to soften the skin and to keep it from becoming dry. Some are also perfumed. Do not add bath oil to a tub bath. It can make the tub even more slippery, and it's hard to clean off the surface of the tub. Instead, if bath oil is desired, apply a light layer to the client's skin after the bath. Deodorant. There are two kinds of underarm products. Both deodorants and antiperspirants help cover up body odor. However, antiperspirants also work to control sweating. Some of these products can cause skin irritation, especially if used immediately after shaving the underarm. Check your clients for rash or other signs of irritation. Creams and lotions. Lotion or cream is used to soften skin and prevent it from drying. Encourage your clients to apply lotion themselves if possible. This gives them a chance to move their muscles and joints. Before applying lotion, warm it up by rubbing it between your hands. Apply lotion gently, especially for elderly clients who have thin, fragile skin. Bath time tips. I apologize. Remove any eyeglasses and or hearing aids before beginning a bath or shampoo. Put them in a safe, dry place. Before you start the bathing process, tell your client exactly what you're going to be doing so he or she knows what to expect. Then working with a bed-bound client, be sure to raise the bed to a comfortable working height so you don't strain your back. And don't forget to lower it again when you are done. Let your supervisor know if you feel a bath is ordered too often or too seldom for one of your clients. In addition, be sure to report if your client needs a different kind of bath. For example, a client who is getting stronger may be able to switch from a sponge bath to a shower, or a client who is getting weaker may need to stop taking tub baths. Take your client's suggestions and feelings into consideration. As much as possible, stick to the same bathing routines that your clients had before they needed your help. Remember that slowing the pace of the bathing process may allow older people to do more for themselves. If you rush them, you may be robbing them of the opportunity to remain semi-independent. If possible, ask a physical or occupational therapist to teach you techniques for making bath time safer for a particular client. Schedule bathing at the time of the day during which your client has the most energy. Run cold water through the tap or shower faucet last so that the metal will be cool to the touch. Be sure to close doors, pull curtains, and pull down blinds to show respect for your client's privacy during bath time. Praise your clients when they participate in their own personal care. Hair care tips. Have you ever joked about having a bad hair day? If so, it's because, like most people, you feel better about yourself when your hair is clean, trimmed, and attractively styled. Your clients are probably no different, regardless of the age or health status. You can boost their morale by helping them take care of their hair. Here are some tips. Keep your client's hair tangle-free. Tangled hair can cause pressure sores to develop on the scalp. To remove snarls from hair before you shampoo, try gentle combing cream, rinse through the hair. Comb out tangles by beginning at the ends of the hair and working toward the roots. Don't remove or comb out braids without your client's permission. Some hairstyles are meant to stay in place for long periods. To prevent water from getting in your client's ears, gently insert cotton balls into the outer ear. Protect their eyes from the shampoo by covering them with a washcloth. Don't use bar soap to wash your client's hair. Bar soap makes hair rough and tangled. You'll get better results if you dilute shampoo with water before applying it to a client's head. Warm shampoo between your palms before applying it. To reduce the amount of water that gets in client's face during rinsing, use a wet washcloth to clear shampoo out of the hair. If you use conditioner on your client's hair, be sure to rinse it thoroughly down the tap drain before helping the person out of the tap. Conditioner can make a tap extra slippery. Ask your supervisor if you can use dry shampoo for your clients who are unable to get out of bed. Then shampooing a client's hair in bed, place absorbent towels and the waterproof sheet over the client's pillow. For best results, use a shampoo basin or inflatable sink. To avoid spreading germs and all lice, don't share the following items between clients: combs, brushes, headscarves, or headbands. Do not cut, perm, or color your client's hair. To prevent accidental burns, don't use a curling iron on your client's hair. Don't forget to consult with your clients about how they want their hair styled and encourage them to participate in their hair care as much as possible. Bathing and infection control. If you help a client with toileting right before bath time, don't start the bath while wearing the same pair of gloves. Throw away your dirty gloves, wash your hands, and put on a clean pair of gloves. When cleaning a client's eyes, wipe each eye with a different corner of the washcloth. This prevents spreading infection from one eye to the other. Change the bath water whenever it gets too soapy, cools off, becomes contaminated with body secretions. Practice standard precautions during the bathing process. For example, wear gloves whenever feces or urine is present. A client has open sores. You give perineal care. Always clean a client's perineal area from front to back to avoid spreading germs from the anal area to the urinary area. Use a separate clean washcloth for this part of the bath. Collect soiled towels and washcloths and place them in the appropriate laundry bag or container. Be sure to keep them off the floor. Bathing and safety. The greatest danger in the bathroom comes when clients get in and out of the tub or shower. The risk of falling is high. As you assist clients in and out of the tub or shower, you are at risk for falling too. Most of these double falls happen at the end of the bath when the client is tired and/or relaxed. If a client's physical condition has worsened while transferring a client out of the tub because the client's body and the tub and the floor are wet and slippery, your clients may be physically dependent on you for help at bath time. For example, a client with arthritis may not be able to turn the water faucets on and off. A client may also be psychologically dependent on you. For example, he or she may be afraid to take a bath alone for fear of falling. Whenever the problem is physical, psychological, or both, keep each client's safety in mind at all times. Try following these tips. Wear rubber-soiled shoes, then assisting clients at bath time. If you work in clients' homes and have access to a cell phone, consider keeping it in the bathroom during bath time. You'll be able to call for help if you or the client falls down. Make sure there are no skid mats on the inside and the outside of the tap or shower. Keep the bathroom well lit during bath time. Make sure it's well ventilated too, so that the room doesn't become too hot. You and your client may become faint in the heat. Remember that older people are more sensitive to heat and cold. Test the temperature of the water before your elderly clients get into the tub or shower. If you use a bath thermometer, it should be read between 105 and 110 degrees Fahrenheit. After reading the thermometer, test the water on the inside of your wrist and consider asking your client to do the same. If the bath area is equipped with an emergency call button, make sure your client knows how to use it. Never let a client grab onto a towel, tar, or bar or soap dish for support. These items are not meant to hold a person's weight and could pull right out of the wall. Empty the tub before you help your client out of it. Getting out of an empty tub is easier than getting out of a filled one. Every year, as many as 70 senior citizens die after being burned by hot water in the bathtub. If people are exposed to 180-degree water for just 1 second, they will develop deep third-degree burns. Every day, 1 American dies from an accident in the bathtub or shower. Be sure to notify your supervisor if you notice safety hazards in your client's bathroom. Tools and equipment for bath time. Transfer benches. A transfer bench sits partway outside and partway inside the bathtub. Your client sits on the bench and gradually slides his body inside the tub. Transfer benches come in various sizes. Some can be adjusted to different heights. Some have backrest. Most transfer benches have rubberized legs, so they may be positioned securely inside the tub. Grab bars. Grab bars come in various designs, including horizontal, vertical, diagonal, wraparound. They may be mounted to the wall, floor, ceiling, or tub. Some bars have ridges in the metal or are covered with vinyl to make them easier to grab. Grab bars don't do any good if they are placed too high or too low for clients to reach. Most people need bars installed in 2 different positions, one for use in getting in and out of the tub in a standing position, and one for lowering or raising the body from a seated position. Handheld showers. Some clients may benefit from a handheld shower. They may find it easier to clean themselves if they're able to direct the water onto hard-to-reach body parts. Shower chairs. If your clients enjoy taking a shower, but they are unable to stand for a long period of time, a shower chair may be the answer. Other items that may take bath time safer for your clients include mechanical or hydraulic bath lifts, special adapters for turning on water faucets, long-handled sponges or wash mitts, floor-to-ceiling grab poles, foam faucet protectors to cushion fixtures in the tub. And I think that's it. That's my last slide. Thank you very much.
Very helpful information. We appreciate it. Thank you so much, Ilona. The final topic of today's presentation, Belana is going to present to you all today on recognizing and reporting elder abuse. So if you guys could all please give Belana your undivided attention, and thank you very much.
Hello, everyone.
As Mary mentioned, we are going to talk today about recognizing and reporting elder abuse. There are 6 forms of abuse that occur in people over age of 60. Physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, neglect, abandonment, financial abuse. What is physical abuse? Is the use of physical force that may result in bodily injury, physical pain, or impairment. Signs of physical abuse: bruises, black eyes, restraint, rope marks, broken bones and fractures or skull fractures, sprains, dislocations or internal injuries, bleeding, open wounds, cuts, untreated injuries, laboratory findings of medication overdose or underutilization of prescribed drugs, elders report of being hit, slapped, kicked, or mistreated. An elder's sudden change in behavior, the caregiver's refusal to allow visitors to see the elder alone. Sexual abuse. Sexual abuse is non-consensual sexual contact, and sexual contact with any person incapable of giving consent is also considered sexual abuse. Signs of symptoms of sexual abuse: bruises in various stages around the breast and genital area, unexplained vaginal and anal bleeding, unexplained genital infection or venereal disease, torn, strained, or bloody underwear, and elders report of being sexually raped or assaulted. Emotional abuse. Emotional, physiological abuse, psychological abuse can include constant harassment, verbal abuse, and humiliation, isolation from friends and family, or deprivation of physical and economic resources. Signs of emotional or psychological abuse: being extremely withdrawn and non-communicative, non-responsive, being emotionally agitated and upset. Unusual behavior usually attributes to dementia, like sucking, biting, or rocking. An elder's report of being mistreated. Neglect. It's the refusal or failure to fulfill any part of the person's obligations or duties to an elder. This includes the refusal or failure to provide an elderly person with life necessities as food, water, clothing, shelter, personal hygiene, medicine, comfort, personal safety, or other essentials, including in implied or agreed upon responsibility to an elder. Neglect includes failure of a person who has fiduciary responsibilities to provide care for an elder, or failure on a part of in-home service provider to provide necessary care. Signs and symptoms of neglect include dehydration, malnutrition, untreated bed sores, or poor personal hygiene, unattended or untreated health problems, unsafe living condition, improper wiring, no heat, no running water, unsanitary and unclean living condition like dirt, fleas, lice on a person, soil bathing, fecal urine smell, or inadequate clothing, and elders report of being mistreated. In the news, caregiver charged with neglect after the woman found dead inside Forest Park home. Amanda McClure, who is a CNA, was arrested hours later and charged with neglect in connection with Hunter's death. We found out that she was under a home care program where she was assigned to a CNA named Amanda McClure.
A local nursing assistant is accused of a shocking crime.
Forest Park police say that Amanda McClure.
I'm very sorry, but connection for some odd reason doesn't play well. But it was in the news, and I'm very sorry for bad internet connection, but you can see yourself that that
admitted
was
neglecting a client that she
case.
was hired to care for after that woman was found dead. Fox 5's Deidre Dukes has more on the disturbing case.
Forest Park Police releasing few details in the case, but say CNA Amanda McClure confessed to neglecting her client, Carolyn Hunter, who was wheelchair bound after that woman was found dead on Thursday.
Based on the information we received from Ms. McClure and the company, Ms. McClure was assigned only to Ms. Carol Hunter.
Police say they don't know how long the 63-year-old woman had been dead when officers performing a welfare check at her Beecher Street residence discovered her body Thursday afternoon. Certified nursing assistant Amanda McClure was arrested hours later, charged with neglect in connection with Hunter's death.
We found out that she was under a home care program where she was assigned to a CNA named Ms. Amanda McClure. Ms. Amanda was brought in for questioning where she confessed to neglect of Ms. Hunter, and she was later taken into custody.
Police say McClure told investigators she was supposed to care for Hunter, who was in a wheelchair 5 days a week.
She said that she was not there during those times to care for her, being that there was a job description, and that's when she stated that she did neglect Ms. Hunter.
McClure was employed by Epiphany Healthcare. No one at the Tucker office would comment on the case. Police will review the CNA's employment records to try to determine how long Hunter went without care. Police are awaiting autopsy results to determine how Hunter died and if McClure will face additional charges. In Forest Park, Deidre Dukes, Fox 5 News.
Time now for
So as you see that what we're talking about, it's a real stuff. It's not made up stories. The services that being provided to our clients are essential. Sorry.
I just wanted to add one thing about that. That is a very recent event that happened just in the last couple of months. I heard somebody say that's in my neck of the woods. So yeah, I mean, these are people in your neighborhoods. These are people that are visiting your clients or their neighbors. And it's not just something that, you know, B'Elanna and I talk about twice a year at In-Service. It is something that is very real. You have a very real responsibility to your clients, and there are very real consequences, negative consequences to neglect, as B'Elanna was just talking about. So I just wanted to reiterate that. Thank you.
The next, abandonment. It's the desertion of an elderly person by an individual who has assumed responsibility for providing care for an elder, or by a person with physical custody of an elder. Signs of a symptom of abandonment include the desertion of an elder at the hospital, a nursing facility, or other similar institution, the desertion of an elder at shopping center or other public location, an elder's report of being abandoned. Financial abuse. Financial exploitation includes illegal taking, misuse, or of funds, property, or assets of a vulnerable elder. Signs of and symptoms of financial abuse. Unexplained sudden transfer of assets to a family member or someone outside the family. Unexplained disappearance of funds or valuable possessions. Unauthorized withdrawal of the elder's funds using the elder's ATM card. Sudden changes in a bank account or banking practice, including unexplained withdrawal of large sums of money by a person accompanying the elder. An elder's report of financial exploitation. Substandard care being provided or bill unpaid despite the ability or adequate financial resources. Discovery of elder signature being forged for financial transactions or for the titles of these possessions. The inclusion of additional names on an elder's bank signature card. Abrupt changes in a will or other financial documents. Sudden appearance of previously uninvolved relatives claiming their rights to an elder affairs and possessions. The provision of services that are not necessary. This actually happened. Unfortunate situation again happened in a real life. Charges of financial abuse were recently filed against our former aide by the family member of the client. The aide used the client's credit card to purchase items for herself. This happened over a period of several months. The aide was taken to court, found guilty of the felony charges. And you can see the printout from the actual charges. The aide will be in court ordered probation for 2 years. She is not permitted to work as a professional caregiver ever again. And her immigration status could also be affected by guilty condition. So that happened in a real life to our former aide. Who is the abuser? Abuse tends to occur when the stress level of the caregiver is increased as a result of worsening of the elder's impairment. The abuser is the family member in 90% of the cases where the perpetrator is known. Substance abuse is the most frequently cited risk factor associated with elder abuse. What is self-neglect? Vulnerable adults, such as senior citizens who neglect themselves, are unwilling or unable to do needed self-care, suffer from self-neglect. That can include such things as not eating enough food to the point of malnutrition, wearing clothes that are filthy, torn, or not suited for the weather, living in a filthy, unsanitary conditions, not getting needed medical care. Common characteristics of the people who neglect themselves. They usually live alone. Women, possibly because more women than men live alone. Depressed and or increasingly confused, frail and elderly. Alcohol and drug problems most of the time. History of poor personal hygiene or living conditions. Signs to look for in-home include the following: not enough food, water, heat, filth or bad odors, unsafe or unclean living conditions. Major repairs are needed and not done. Human or animal feces. Nothing is thrown away. Stacks of the paper, magazines, animal or insect infestation. Yeah, not pretty. Signs to look for on the person includes the following: poor personal hygiene, dirty hair, nails, skin, smells of feces or urine, unclothed or improperly dressed for the weather, skin rashes or bad sores, pressure ulcers, untreated medical conditions, dehydrated, malnutrition or weight loss, absence of needed dentures, eyeglasses, hearing aids, walkers, wheelchairs, braces, or a commode, increased dementia, confusion, disorientation, unexpected or unexplained worsening in health or living conditions, spending too much time alone or isolated from former activities, lack of interest or concern about life, self-destructive behaviors or significant behavior changes, hallucinations, delusions, misusing drug or alcohol. Self-neglect. The definition of self-neglect excludes a decision by a mentally competent older person to engage in acts that threaten his health or safety as a matter of personal choice. The term mentally competent assumes that an individual understands the consequences of his decisions and makes conscious and voluntary choices. Social support by family, friends, and members of the community and service providers is extremely important in helping vulnerable adults to remain safe in our communities. Family and friends can assist, helping the adult to reduce isolation as much as possible. They don't? Well, then we come in place. We help. Community services such as visiting on a regular basis, regular telephone calls, as volunteer driving to events, church, or shopping. Learning the signs and symptoms to look for. Staying in contact with the adult. Listening to and talking to adult on a regular basis. Showing concern and helping them to find solutions. Help person to consider options and to make his own choices. Helping the person accept help from others and to get services needed. Getting others involved by contacting volunteer faith-based groups or other volunteer groups to help with unmet needs. Getting help from adult protective services if an adult is showing sign of self-neglect. Allowing adult to have control of his destiny, remembering if he or she chooses to be neglectful, he or she has to be right to do so if he is competent. Neighbors can help. Neighbors can help. Neighbors, yeah. Sometimes they are better than relatives. Staying alert and aware of changes that might indicate a problem with an aging neighbor. Noting signs of changes in well-loved animals once well cared for and now losing weight and neglect. Noting whether the newspapers are piling up on the porch and if there's a change in routine. When concerned, neighbors can knock on his or her door and check to see if they need help. They can listen and offer support and call Adult Protective Services if concerned about self-neglect. 911 can be called if the person needs immediate medical help and is in danger of harm. Public services. Stay alert to any changes that might indicate a problem with an aging customer. They may see mail or newspapers piling up. They may notice significant negative change in the personality of older adult. It may be necessary for the service provider to knock on an older's door to evaluate whether the help and assistance is needed. Working together, community members can help our elders remain safe and live fruitful life. Reporting abuse. Elder abuse is a crime. As a healthcare worker, you are required reporter. You must report knowing or suspecting abuse. Call the office, submit a written statement. MedSide will contact case management, Adult Protective Services, and police when necessary. I am done with my presentation. Do you have any questions? Maybe concerns, suggestions? No? Well, thank you very much.
Okay, everybody, before we dismiss you, we have one fun little thing that we wanted to do for our people in attendance. We have a few door prizes that we're giving out. What's that? For the people that we have that are here in person in attendance, we have some door prizes that we wanted to give out to get you guys ready for summer, some new beach towels. So under your seat, there's 3 people in this room that have a ticket under their seat that says you win. So if you win, check under your seats. There's 3 people. There were people sitting in the 3 chairs, so. Hey, that's all right. It would only be under your seat. All right, we got one winner. All right. Aren't you glad you stayed? She wanted to leave. No, she stayed. All right. There should be 2 more winners. Christine, all right. We got 1 more winner here. All right. We got 1 more. Crystal. Where's Crystal? She knew where she put them, huh? We got it. All right. We got another winner. Okay, there we go. Congratulations to our winner. We have some refreshments in the back. There you go. Congratulations. All right. Thank you all very much. You have a wonderful afternoon and a wonderful Mother's Day.